President Trump taking time during his visit to the UK to sit down for a candid interview with Piers Morgan on the Good Morning Britain show. He opened up about his trip, conversations with the Queen, and how his late mother would have reacted.
I will say that my mother would have been very proud. She was a tremendous fan of this country, and she loved Scotland. She grew up in Stornoway. She loved the royals. She loved the Queen. And I always noticed whenever anything was on about the Queen, she would watch. She was a big fan of this.
Did you tell the Queen this?
I told her last night. She was very honored. We had a great rapport. We had a conversation that lasted for an hour and a half, nonstop.
He also took the moment to clarify a controversial comment about Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex.
This Meghan Markle business.
Yeah.
Do you think Meghan Markle's nasty or not?
No. You know, the question was asked to me, and I didn't know that she said anything bad about me. It sounds like she did, and that's okay. I mean, hey, join the crowd, right? You've heard about that, too, with yourself.
Of
course.
I
know that, right? But it seems like she had, and they said some of the things that she said, and it's actually on tape. And I said, wow, I didn't know she was nasty. I wasn't referring to her, she's nasty. I said she was nasty about me. And essentially, I didn't know she was nasty about me. So I said, but you know what? She's doing a good job. I hope she enjoys her life.
Obviously, the president's trip was covered heavily here in the United States. Trump blasting the, quote, corrupt media for not being fair. Those comments not without merit. Let's look at the stark difference in how the British media is covering the president compared to the U.S. media. UK outlets opting for more positive headlines, touting Trump's praise of eternal friendship, common values, and the treasured friendship between the U.S. and the UK. But the U.S. media, they just can't seem to help themselves, once again going on the attack.
Narcissism don't mix well with diplomacy. Who knew?
The Brits absolutely know how to troll the president. They know how to get under his skin. And they did it with, you know, with style, with spectacle.
He likes the idea of being a king.
Perhaps he likes the idea of being a king.
Oh, he's walking around like he wants to be the king. That's his, like he's the king. He didn't just say, you know, to his subjects, do this, do this.
All right, Dana, I mean, I think it's clear why the British media likes it when the U.S. president comes. It's because it solidifies the relationship between the two countries that have a lot in common.
Well, and if you think of, following British politics over the past year, it's not been easy. And now they have a prime minister that's leaving. They have a new election. They haven't done Brexit. It's like, that is a big mess. And then for the last several days, they are the host to the leader of the free world. It could not have gone better, I think, from the UK's perspective and also from the White House's perspective. They had a great time. And I think that a lot of this for U.S. media is that it's pre-baked that the president's going to have a bad trip. He's going to screw something up. He's going to have a domestic problem back home. And that's actually kind of not happened. Of course, you know, Peter is British. He said that there is more of a groundswell of support for President Trump in Britain, that a lot of times people who wanted to leave the European Union get ignored in the media. It's a very similar story, and that they wish that Theresa May had been a little bit more like President Trump when she was fighting with the EU about leaving, because she kept trying to, like, accommodate, and they don't want to accommodate Europe anymore. So I don't know where it goes from here, but I do think that the UK had a very successful visit, but the president has a lot to be proud of, and there's still more to come.
Greg, I'd like to take this opportunity to play some video for you of the president trying on a hat for Winston Churchill.
Thank you.
We would like to present you with a Churchill hat.
Piers, I never knew you had that kind of sensibility. It's very good. Let me try this on.
Please try it on. That'd be great.
No, it's a little big.
Well, we can get that. And that's fantastic.
Let me see how that looks. I think Churchill looked...
So Winston Trump?
I think Winston looked much better in this hat.
What do you think about the hat, Greg? Would you have done that?
He should be wearing a black hat because he's a villain. Hey, I never liked Piers Morgan when he was on CNN, but I like him on that show.
You do.
So it's definitely CNN. Let's talk about the delusion, the news delusion. There was one of the women in the montage that said, the Brits really know how to get under his skin. So that's a delusion. There was never any sign that anything was under his skin, but she sees it in her head and projects it. That's a delusion. There's an article on CNN's website by Chris Cillizza that we all got sent around, and it listed 31 quotes from Donald Trump. And after each quote, his head was exploding. You could hear him pulling at his hair, going, oh my God, he's like the neighbor from Bewitched, right? He's going absolutely nuts. So this is what I keep talking about. When you focus on the words, you create your very own mental health problem that nobody else can see. If you focus on the deeds, however, what's going on with trade, jobs, GDP, North Korea, China, what we're doing with opioids, our military strength, as we're shrinking the military footprint. This is a golden age, but if you keep focusing on the words, you end up having these delusions like you do on CNN and like this young woman that was on that other show. Also, I'd like to say that I've said before that Trump is a news potato. You know, you can make him into any meal. French fries, gratin. You could also make him into a shepherd's pie because he served it up. He served it up. You had a hearty blend of news and entertainment.
Juan, what would you make the president into if you were playing the Mr. Potato Head game here?
Wow, shepherd's pie. That was quite... You know, you're a sophisticated guy, Greg.
I like shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie is disgusting.
It's not what you think, by the way.
Well, the thing is, I guess I saw this a little differently because I read where the president was talking to Theresa May about, well, you know, we could have a trade deal with the U.S. and we'd include the British healthcare system, which absolutely set here a fire in Britain. People say, what? He wants to now bring American private enterprise into our much beloved you know, public sector healthcare system. So I think people were upset about that. And with the Meghan Markle stuff, again, you know, he says he was talking about her comment. I just say, is this a kind of difference without distinction? Because I think he has a history of calling people like Hillary Clinton a nasty woman, right? He said this about Senator Elizabeth Warren. He said this about Kamala Harris. He says Omarosa's a dog. He says Rosie O'Donnell's a dog. You think, well, I know how this guy talks and speaks about people who are critical or have strong differences with him. So to me, you know, it's
but
not.
But he says that about men too. You listed a bunch of women.
Well,
he says that about anybody that's critical of him.
Okay, so that's my point. So in other words, she's the kind of person who makes nasty comments
to him. That's what he explained.
So she's
you can't read his mind. If he tells you what he's thinking, you don't have to read it.
But I just think that you guys say, oh, you know, everything went so smoothly. But I think that you know, you look at the protest. He says he never saw it. He saw people cheering. He said. Oh, but I see that they had thousands of people in the street.
I mean, in all fairness,
as compared to what they might have been.
Yeah, exactly. And considering the outrage and the point that
and the build-up by the media
that the mayor of London was making, you would think that the entire country is dead set against this president, and he is as bad as Hitler. And that was the thinly veiled subtext of Sadiq Khan's op-ed that he wrote, saying Britain should not be rolling out the red carpet for this president. But what I want to point out, kind of in contrast, aside from how you feel about the president and how he has jostled the world stage, and U.S. politics are very dynamic, very, very fluid. We know we may have a new president in a year and a half, but we may have the same president for another 5.5 years. But someone who has been there through many administrations is the Queen. Yep. And you have to look at her reaction. And her reaction was not one of disgust or disdain or snobbery. She was truly giddy, and she obviously enjoyed being in his presence because she knows this too shall pass, and not to get too wrapped up and too emotional and too reactive to this figure who has created all sorts of emotional reactions from people on both sides of hatred and beloved for the president. And I really enjoyed watching her because I don't think she was trolling him. I think she had a great time, and I think she's at a point in her life where, you know, from Eisenhower to Trump, she has seen the political gamut run here in the United States.
Well, I don't think you thought she might be trolling him, or that was someone said.
No, I think that was the point of one of the first commenters from the U.S. said, well, the Brits really know how to troll the president. It's like, that wasn't trolling. Oh, okay. That was someone who's been through it, who has perspective, who actually had a pretty good time.
Yes, Kennedy knows trolling. He's an expert on it.
I am actually a troll. Yeah. I live under a bridge.
And same size.
And when you do this, your hair.
That was the joke, Jesse. Okay. Thanks for explaining my joke.
Not just the bridge comment. It's because he's very short, everyone.